Yeah.
This country talks such a big game about, Judge, put the children first. It's all about the kids. How often do we hear that? It's all talk. Because the minute that there was a little risk that little Johnny could come home from middle school with something and sneeze on mom and dad, oh my God, panic. We're just gonna derail this kid's childhood for maybe the rest of his life.
So that is Jesse Watters talking about the kids. If you're not familiar with Jesse Watters, he's basically what you would get if Greg Gutfeld was less funny and Sean Hannity was less passionate and Tucker Carlson was less wily. Ducey was less kind of like jovial. And then all that you had left was, I guess we need another person on our network. You'd get Jesse Watters. So there, he says we're supposed to be thinking about the kids. He's not talking there about more funding for education, making sure they reach their potential. He's saying get them back in schools right now, because any adult who's worried about sending them to schools and is perhaps worried about the fact that they might get their teachers sick or they might get COVID, which could cause long-term health effects for them, or then bring it home and get their parents sick. You're a bad person, but you're not just like a vaguely bad person. He wants to make a comparison to World War II. So take a look at this.
I don't want to downplay COVID-19, but other adults and other generations, Judge, went off to war in the Pacific, in Europe, to save their own children from communism to totalitarianism. But what did this generation do? As soon as something came along that had a 99% chance of survivability, they shut everything down. And all.
Okay, so Anna, there you can see he's saying that we have failed the historic test that past generations that dealt with World War II, succeeded. So we're failures. What do you think about that?
I think that Jesse Watters is an untalented hack who gets paid in an incredibly cushy job to provide absolutely nothing of substance to this country or the world. He is laughably untalented. And for him to sit there and pretend as though he cares about the mental health or well-being of children is laughable, considering the fact that he's been an advocate for incredibly dangerous austerity, including cutting SNAP benefits, which would, of course, and has led to hunger among children living in poverty. He, of course, has no interest in the health and well-being of children who might go to school and contract the virus. This is really about, look, anytime you hear a conservative talk about, oh no, we care so much about the children, we care so much about this or that. No, ask yourselves, like, take a materialist analysis and apply it to their argument. They want everyone to go back to work.
Yep,
okay,
that's it.
That's all it is at the end of the day. Yesterday, John and I talked about Eric Adams, the new mayor of New York, and how he is insisting that remote workers, people who are still working, but they're lucky and privileged, let me be clear, to be able to continue working from the comfort of their own homes during the pandemic. These are not shutdowns. We're talking about people and businesses that are still open, but they're working from home. He is insisting that they go back to the office. And my argument was, okay, but why? What is the economic argument for that? And a bunch of conservatives start like chiming in about like, oh, but the poor janitors. We're so concerned about the poor janitors. We're gonna force remote workers to go back to the office so janitors can clean up after them. But that's not really what they're concerned about.
They don't care about that.
They're worried about the people who own the commercial real estate that's now struggling because people have found, hey, maybe we don't need to go into the office. Maybe we can work from home. Maybe we don't have to deal with a commute. Maybe we don't have to, use up more fossil fuels for that commute. Maybe we can afford to move out of town to a more affordable place. All of those things, like they hate any type of freedom, any type of improvement that we as workers might experience. What they want more than anything is everyone to go back to work despite the fact that we're still dealing with a pandemic, so their stock portfolios don't suffer. That's all it is.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. It's been clear. I only have a couple more things I want to say, but one obviously is they're still saying the 99% survival thing. That to them is a witty, clever point. We have over 830,000 confirmed deaths. which is obviously an undercount. The only debate to be had is how much of an undercount is it? So what the hell does it matter if it's a 99% survival rate when going on 1 million people have died? What was the survival rate of World War II? Millions of Americans survived it. I guess it wasn't that bad according to Jesse Waters' logic. That makes a ton of sense. By the way, 830,000 people have died with all that we've done. All that we've done. We've failed in so many ways, but we've done some things. He's fought against every single one of those efforts. And we're talking about things as big as like a vaccine mandate that doesn't actually exist, to just trying to encourage people to mask. They haven't wanted any of those things to be done. If they had been successful, the death rate would be even higher and they would care no more than they do. The final point is about the World War II comparison. I think there he is actually revealing something. Because comparing what we are doing and not doing now to the historic sacrifices of past generations has not gone their way well over the past year. In World War II, we were willing to sacrifice. Many people went over there and died. And he wants to say, in comparison, the modern era, we're not as good, we're not as worthy, we don't sacrifice as much, and I would agree with him. We're not even asking for you to do as much. We're asking for you to get vaccinated and wear a mask, and you won't do that. We're not asking for you to storm the beaches of Normandy, hunt tanks in some deep Eastern European forest. We're not asking for you to be paratroopers, none of that stuff. We're asking for you to show common decency, humanity, compassion for other people, and they fall short. And he has heard that many times over the past year, and they hate that comparison. They know how pathetic their position is. I don't even know if he believes any of this, but he has to have this position because that is the only thing that qualifies him to be on a show like The Five. It ain't talent or anything like that. And so to try to turn that around and make it so that people who don't want their kids to potentially suffer for the rest of their life from long COVID, they're the bad guys. Those who don't want elderly teachers to needlessly die are the bad guys. Those who don't want their kid to come back and kill their grandma are the bad guys. That doesn't make any sense to anyone except the audience of The Five.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.